Good morning, natural gas. It's Monday, April the 6th, 2026. I'm Tim Beggins, president of Elk Trading Company, and this is the top news for natural gas. Number one, the Iran war continues. Number two, Morgan Stanley for the third quarter for TTF pricing is forecasting 90 euros per megawatt hour. That's equivalent to roughly over $30 per MMBTU. Number three, Creole Trail Pipeline, which feeds Sabine Pass LNG, is undergoing some pigging on April the 7th, that's tomorrow, and the 8th. And number four, the Chevron Wheatstone LNG facility, that's in Australia, will be down for at least several weeks because of damage from tropical cyclone. Let's turn to the spot May natural gas contract. Currently, right now, we are trading at 283.80, up 3.8 cents or 1.39%. And as you can see, we've got this trend line, which continues to ebb lower. The RSI, though, is trying to turn higher here. And since we're up on a little bit of short covering right now, we're still holding above that 2.807 support. That was our previous low way back in late February. And as you can see right now, we're still below the 13 and 48 period exponential moving averages. So we're still in a sell rally mode. Let's turn to the LNG, excuse me. This is Creole Trail Pipeline. This feeds Sabine Pass LNG. And as you can see here, this is under critical notices for their informational postings. And they're pigging the pipeline here over the next few days. And this in total is going to affect about 600,000 MMBTUs for those 2 days. What you see here is the transport impact. That's the 24-hour number. So you've got to take that, divide it by 24, and then back into 15 hours because we're going to have about half a BCF that will be totally affected for tomorrow, and then another 60,000 for the 8th, which is about 3 hours of pigging as well. So overall, it's a minor impact, but this is spring. We've got to do this type of work. The bigger outage is in here in May for the compressor station maintenance, which will be for 7 days. And then we've got the big one on the 19th, which is the emergency shutdown testing. That's ESD, and that will affect the entire pipeline here for approximately 8 hours. So keeping a careful eye on the pipelines because this is spring. We've got to do pipeline pigging and maintenance across the U.S. grid. And let's take a look at the LNG system out here in the Persian Gulf. And in particular, we've got no vessels sitting at Las Rafan. But guess what? We had two LNG boats here, ships that actually made a kind of a pass at the Strait of Hormuz, but then turned around. So the Rashida and the Al Dayan. And you could see if we press on one of these boats here and hit the pass track, as you can see, it made its passage here where it was just sitting out here in the Gulf, came across near the strait and backed out. So we're going to keep a careful eye on these two vessels to see if they turn off their tracking system and make a run at the Strait of Hormuz. We've been hearing that a lot of ships have been getting through the strait because they're turning off their tracking system and basically preventing the Iranians from picking up where they're going. So let's take a look here at the hourly chart for May. And as you can see here, we're above the daily pivot, which came in at 282.30, and we're sitting right below resistance, 286.60. So our high so far right now, 286.80. So just 2 ticks above that. So we're stuck right now. The RSI is going sideways, but looks like a sell at the moment. So it looks like we're going to be kind of just bouncing around between the pivot and first resistance. We'll see if there's some bullish news later in the day. But here's the Jan versus the May spread. This is the injection spread. And Jan is starting to weaken out relative to May because May is starting to appreciate a little bit here as we're moving into the storage injection season. So the spread is coming in down 3 cents, 3.1 cents to 2.032. The RSI is in sell mode. So we'll look to see if we can get this spread down to 192. That's our Fibonacci retracement here, and that'll be our first target now that we're breaking through this downtrend line. And let's take a look at the Novi through March strip. Because TTF is so strong, the Novi through March strip is gaining some ground. So therefore it is up 1.7 cents. We're currently trading at 413.5, and the RSI is trying to figure out a way to turn to the upside, but we're still below that trend line. So until we can get above it, unfortunately, right now, it looks like it's still in a sell rally mode. So we'll see what happens here with the Iran war. But right now, we're stabilizing between these two support levels here at 413.5 and 4.208. Let's turn to the U.S. weather, and it is fairly mild. As you can see here across the south, it is starting to look just mild, maybe 80s on the high end here through parts of Texas and parts of the southeast, especially like Florida. But as we get later and later into the forecast period, closer to the 19th through the 21st, we start seeing some 90s, especially in Texas, Florida, Georgia, and parts of Louisiana. So let's move it forward here, just a few tips. And here we go. We're going to start seeing some warmer temperatures on the forecast map here in just a second. And come on, here we go. It's going to show up here in a second. There we go. We start seeing some 80s here. Again, 90s starting to pop up here. And then this is getting into the 19th right now. As you can start to see 90s here in Georgia, 90s in Florida, and 90s out here in New Mexico. So what about the anomalies, the heat anomalies? Well, as we start pushing through again in that same period, we're moving anywhere from 5 to 20 degrees above normal. So as you can see here, some cooler weather pushes into the northeast today and tomorrow, and then that warmer air pushes it out to sea and then starts to build up in the west again and pushes all that colder air out and all the way into the Great Lakes. We're seeing some 15 to 20 degrees above normal for this time of year. And that continues to build as we get, again, closer and closer toward the third week of April. You can see well above normal for the eastern 2/3 of the country there before some colder temperatures start coming in again around the April 22nd. Let's turn to the heat risk. And as you can see here, we've got some minor heat risk across the United States, especially starting out west with that heat. And as it progresses east, you start seeing it all the way back up into Boston, Atlanta, and then into Chicago. So we're going to start building warmer temperatures here for spring as we start poking into potentially early summer conditions. How about Europe? Well, it's really quite mild as we go through the forecast period here. And again, it's giving me technical difficulties. We'll try it one more time. Let's see if it loads up. And we start seeing some modest temperatures across Europe here. It starts getting a little cooler across the interior Eastern European countries around the 8th. That's in 2 days. And that pushes a little further east as we get into the forecast period into France on the 10th, and then pushes again into the eastern parts of Europe, possibly into Spain. But overall, this is mild temperatures as we go through the forecast period, and then it really starts to warm up as we get into the 20th. How about European storage? It's currently around 28%. Both France and Germany, really no change right there on the forecast. What about the injections? Well, we are beginning the injection season across parts of Europe. There's only 3 countries here that are withdrawing on a net basis. That's Spain, Romania, and Bulgaria. We're finally starting to see some injections, especially in the Netherlands, which was starting out below 5%. And here's Asia. We get some cooler temperatures today across Beijing, but overall, this is a mild forecast for Asia. That's good news because they've been selling some spot LNG cargoes into places like Europe, which really is going to start the injection season off in a bad way. How about Golden Pass Pipeline? Well, we're currently over 400,000, about halfway for the full capacity of Train 1. This is good news. They're starting to make LNG, and we're hopefully getting a cargo out of the facility sometime past April 15th or 13th, maybe through the 19th. And here's the U.S. nuclear fleet. This is as of Friday, We haven't updated the spreadsheet here yet for today, but we're currently at 17.5 gigawatts at right now, which is well within the 5-year range. We're waiting on further news from Palisades. Again, they're restarting that facility. There's still some work in the yard, also the fuel system, and then, of course, final inspection. So we're closer and closer to restarting that facility. Then they'll stick 2 small modular reactors on that facility as we progress in time. How about the drought monitor? Well, of course, this is very dry across from Texas, Oklahoma, all the way parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, and over into Florida and Georgia. So we got to keep a careful eye on this. We desperately need rain in the South. And how about stocks? Well, these are stocks between $2 and $10 billion. Have a high short float over 10%. And as you can see, it's mostly in the green today. Magnolia is dragging along at minus 0.42%. CRK behind me up 0.87% to $19.71. So recapping here for the spot May contract, we're currently up to 284.10, up 4.1 cents or 1.46%. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.